I'm Joe Rignola, and this is the Punk Report. Back in April, the state of Vermont responded to overwhelming public demand and passed a law for mandatory labeling of genetically modified food. Certainly a huge victory. Not surprisingly, major food manufacturers, seed companies, and lobbyists cried and complained and stomped their feet like a bunch of 3-year-olds if 3-year-olds had unlimited wealth, power, and government influence. In other words, they filed a lawsuit against the state of Vermont. And I have, in my grimy little hands, that actual lawsuit. I want to go over just a couple of the points they try to make. They start off by making the same bogus arguments we've heard over and over again. They say the world is facing an imminent food shortage, and they cite the Food and Agriculture Organization saying that agriculture production will have to increase by 70% to meet the needs of the projected 9 billion people we'll have on the planet by 2050. Of course, they think that GMOs are the answer to all the world's problems, but the truth is, GMOs have now been around for about 20 years, and the rate of hunger has largely stayed the same in that time, and in fact, the number of people who are hungry in the world has increased in that same amount of time. In other words, the idea that GMOs are the solution to world hunger makes about as much sense as a Monsanto executive running the FDA. What's that? A Monsanto executive runs the FDA. Seriously, the line between government and corporation is more blurred than my vision after an all-nighter of binge drinking and trolling YouTube videos on veganism. By the way, while we're citing the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, let's see what else they have to say. World agriculture produces 17% more calories per person today than it did 30 years ago, despite a 70% population increase. This is enough to provide everyone in the world with at least 2,720 calories per person per day. The principal problem is that many people in the world do not have sufficient land to grow or income to purchase enough food. That's a statement we've heard over and over again from experts all over the world, like Joshua Moldovan, a geography professor and expert on food and agriculture. He states, we have 2 to 3 times the amount of food right now that we need to feed the number of people in the world. And Emily Pine, a professor of international politics and economy, who has said, we don't have a food shortage problem, what we have is a distribution problem and an income problem. Okay, so moving on to point number 2, which states that the FDA, EPA, and USDA review genetically engineered plants for health, safety, and environmental concerns. And by review, that means they simply ask Monsanto, hey, are the seeds safe, healthy, and environmentally responsible? To which Monsanto says, okay. Seriously, could you imagine this conversation between the FDA and Monsanto? It must sound like it's something out of a David Mamet play. So, Mr. Monsanto executive, have you tested your seeds for safety? Did we test them? That's what I said. Did you test your seeds for potential health problems? We tested them. Yeah, we ran tests. And what were your findings? The actual findings? Talking about the actual findings. Yes, we'd like to know the actual findings. Did your research indicate any potential health problems? Not actually, no. Not actually? What did I say? You said not actually, that your research didn't actually show any potential health problems. Is that correct? Actual health problems? No. I mean, we didn't find any. Okay, so this next one is great. It complains that the Act is premised on the fact that some consumers, and by some they mean most, want to avoid food derived from genetic engineering because they distrust the FDA's findings, shocker, or otherwise object to the use or prevalence of biotechnology in agriculture. How dare you, state representatives of Vermont? How dare you enact a law just because it's what the people wanted? How dare you be an example of actual democracy? What about the poor billion-dollar corporations now that have to change their labels so they reflect what's actually in the food? Look, never mind the fact that food companies willingly change their labels just so they can pose Toucan Sam in a different position. By the way, I don't want to start rumors, but I hear they're photoshopping Toucan Sam now. He's got a little pooch belly. Doesn't look good for the company. Food manufacturers will change their labels to write gluten-free on things like bottled water. It's water. And finally, this is my favorite complaint in the lawsuit. You're going to love this. Ready? The state is compelling manufacturers to convey messages they don't want to convey. I'm going to read that again. This is a complaint. This is a quote directly from the lawsuit. The state is compelling manufacturers to convey messages they don't want to convey. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you don't want to tell people the truth about what's in your food. In other words, the message that you want to convey is one of total and complete bullshit of happy cows prancing on green pastures. Truth be told though, in preparation for the passing of Act 120, they did start split testing some labels. The first had a lovely old farmer couple hand-picking ears of corn and delivering them fresh to the grocery store just moments before you buy them. Now, the other label had thousands of acres of monocrops being aerial sprayed by the chemical glyphosate, trying desperately to kill resistant superweeds. They even had a cute mascot of a monster superweed trying to swat the plane out of the sky like some leafy green King Kong, a sign in its other hand that said, "Sovereign Citizen!" Shockingly, the latter didn't play well to audiences, thus, they had no choice but to sue the crap out of the state of Vermont. I'd like to take this time, however, to thank the state of Vermont for the momentary illusion that we actually live in a democracy.